Hey everyone, welcome to another Open Cluster Management Community Meetings. Today is July 7th, 2023, and on the agenda today we have Qijiang, who's going to talk about the introducing a common Rollout API to enhance our Rollout strategy. Qijiang, whenever you're ready, please take it away. Thank you.
Okay. This work is mainly done by Muhammad, and this is still under review. Since Muhammad is on the vacation in these 2 weeks, and I think it's quite important to discuss this one. So I will help him to present this one about the common rollout strategy. So the background is, as you know, that we have a rollout strategy defined in the add-on API, that you can define a placement and define how you want to roll out upgrade the managed cluster add-on based on the placement and by maximum concurrency, etc. And also you can define some kind of canary features. But there are some, but after that there was some discussions between Muhammad, who is working on the manifest replica set, and Haoqing on the add-on API, and also the policy API. It seems that each API has a similar kind of requirement about the add-ons, but there are some nuances on how you want to define the rollout strategy. So this API proposal enhancement is to define a common API subsection about rollout definition. So each API, including the cluster management add-on, the manifest replica set, and policy, can reuse the same part of the rollout strategy and provide the same user experiences whenever user use those different APIs. So this is a thing that was previously, there are actually 2 steps. The first steps that we have agreed on is to create a placement decision generator strategies in the placement API. So when you create a placement, in addition to define what clusters it should be put into the placement, the user can also define how the decisions can be organized. So previously, by default, all the decisions result will be put into the placement decision API with sorted by the name. And there is a maximum length for each placement decision API. So if the number of results exceeds 100, we will generate 2 placement decisions, and bin packing the result into the 2 decisions. But with that decision strategy API, that is actually merged and in this proposal also, is in addition to do the bin packing of the decision result, the user can also define like a decision group, like what decisions should be put into what groups. So which means that, for example, user can decide, I have 3 decision groups, and each decision groups have 3 clusters. So if you have 9 clusters, you basically will have 3 placement decisions labeled with different group name. So with that, it means that a user can roll out based on group. Like the user can roll out the workload in the group 1 and the group 2 and then group 3. So that's the change that we are implementing on the placement. So that can also be used maybe for other use cases, like user can reorganize the placement decisions in different ways. In this API, it's more about so as you can see here, this is API shape about the placement decisions. So you have the decision strategy, and decision strategies, you have the how you can want to group the decisions. You can use static decision group, which means that you can select some certain clusters with certain labels to a group. Or optionally, you also can set how many clusters should be in a group and may let the placement controller to dynamically put certain number of decisions into different groups. This is a part that was changed in the placement. Another part that we want to make it more common and ensure that every API, when they want to use kind of the rollout strategy, they can share the same part, is about the rollout strategy API. Let me put it here. Okay, here is the rollout strategy API. So this part is not in a certain API spec. It look like a dark type, but it can be injected into like the cluster management API, cluster management add-on API, or the policy API, or the manifest for replica set API. So it has it is called rollout strategy, and in the rollout strategy, you can define something like, or whether you want to upgrade all at the same time, or you want to do a progressive rollout, or you want to do a progressive per group. Progressive rollout means that you are, let me explain it separately. So in the rollout API, there are 3 types, as I said. So the in the rollout all strategies, you can define a timeout. Actually, in every type strategy, you can also always define a timeout. Is there a question? Okay, so the timeout means that how long do you want to wait for the upgrade is succeed? And it means that for example, when we doing the upgrade per group or at the same time, we need to check whether the upgrade on a policy or on a certain cluster is successful or not. And sometimes we need to wait, like when this kind of cluster is upgraded successfully, we will proceed to another cluster. The timeout here is just means that how long time, what the time duration that we want to wait for the status return back from saying that the upgrade is success or not. And then no matter after the timeout, we will proceed to the next step, like to upgrade another cluster or to reflect the status of the current upgrades. In the rollout progressive per group, this is mainly a part that is going to used together with what I talked about the placement decision group way, and it means that the how to roll out is totally decided by the placement decision group. And in the placement decision group, we can define like how many clusters is in that group, and we will roll out based on each decision groups by a placement. But there is also a mandatory decision groups. It is mainly to ensure that when the mandatory decision group, it will be upgraded at the first, and when all the mandatory decision groups, the clusters in the mandatory decision groups are upgraded, then we will upgrade the rest of the decision groups in a rollout fashion. So the mandatory decision groups here can really to achieve the use cases like the canary upgrade. Like you can define some certain clusters as the canary clusters in this memory in a certain decision group and specify it as a mandatory decision group. And then the rollout thing, the rollout strategy will do like upgrade mandatory decision group at first. And if nothing is upgraded successfully in the mandatory decision group, we will not proceed to the other clusters. But also there's a timeout. So you can define like how much timeout do you want to, how much time do you want to wait until the mandatory decision group is upgraded successfully. So there's also called rollout progressive. The rollout progressive comparing to the mandatory decision group is comparing to the rollout progressive per group, the rollout progressive is it can be rely on the placement. Like if you don't have the decision groups side in the placement, you can still use the rollout progressive, but you need to like specify the max concurrencies in the API, saying that because you don't have the decision groups defining the placement, but so you have to like specify the max concurrency, and then in a certain decisions, all the decisions in the placement, the rollout will happens with a max concurrency, based on the max concurrency. Like if we set max concurrency to like 2 clusters, and each time we will just upgrade 2 clusters, and when the tool is successfully, the other 2 is selected to be upgraded. And also there's mandatory decision groups which achieve the same user scenario for the rollout progressive and the timeout part. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the things that we want to introduce into the in the CM API. So the other the multiple component can reutilize the same part of the role upgrade API schema to provide the same user experience. So this is still under review. I think there are still some comments here about whether we should use this or whether we should use that. But yeah, but that's pretty much the things that I want to describe, and want us to take a look at this one and to leave some comments about whether you think it makes sense or not. Yeah, I think that's all. Any questions?
I have a question regarding the placement decision. So I know this new PR doesn't really touch the placement decision, except for how you define them or create them. But in placement decision, I like how the labels are used to define the different decision groups. So can a third party consumer look at the labels and figure out, oh, I need to do this rollout first, this set of decision rollouts first. Is that possible, or do they still need to look back at the new rollout API to understand some specifics, or they can just consume the placement decision?
Yeah, so there is two API, so there's two labels on the placement decisions when you define the decision strategy. So if you define something like called decision groups, and you define the group name saying this is product category, and all the clusters with these labels should be put into this group. With that, it means that in the generated placement decisions, there will be a label called group. The key is group name, and the value is the product category. And in addition to this label, there is another label called index label. So index label is to basically to order the decision groups. Like you will have the index 0, from index 0 to index 1 to index 2. So the index 0 is supposed to be the first group. And so for example, if here you define like two decision groups here, for example, one is product category, another is called product has, there will be mostly likely there will be two placement decision generated, one with a label of product category 1 and index 0, another with a label of product has with index 1 and the index 1. So each decision will have two predefined labels set.
Okay, I kind of get it, but so I understand the group index, so 0 and 1. So for sure the 0 go first and 1 goes second. But then the decision group name, they're different, right? So
Yes.
then they're, yep.
Yeah, here this is an example. So for example, you have a decision group, so you have a decision group index, which is starting from 0 and always increase. And for example, if you have in addition to that, if you in the decision strategy also define something like decision groups, and in the decision groups you can select for this saying that these clusters with these labels should be put into this group. And then with that, you define the group name with product category, which means that in addition to this decision index labels on the placement decision, there will be another label called decision group name. And this label will be, the value will be set to the product category or something.
I got it. So I can use both things depending on whatever the requirement is.
Yes.
Got it. Got it. Thank you. That's all my questions. Thank you. Are there any other questions for QJ? QJ, do you have any other last comments regarding this or the whole OCN project in general?
Not for this one, but another one that maybe I can share again. So another one is I create a dashboard about the project. Like for so next release is we're 0.12. So I create a dashboard here about the plan, the roadmap, and the item that in the 0.12. So there were some items that are some of them are already in progress. But I think if anyone have anything that want to put into this and plan to finish into the 0.12, please put it into this dashboard or just tag the issues with a certain release tag. And so we can track the progress. So I think maybe in the future community meeting, we will also try to monitor the progress with this dashboard.
Thank you, Zhang. That's a great idea. And thank you for organizing this.
No problem. Yeah, that's all for me.
Anyone with any comments? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, if not, thank you, everyone. Have a nice day. Take care. Bye.